Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel. So we are in our new house.
Woo.
If you haven't already, I know I've put videos up about it already, so I'll link those down below. But we are loving it. We still have to put some stuff on the walls and put a few things away, but for the most part, we've got it.
We're getting it.
Got it, good to go. So today we actually wanted to talk a little bit about moving here and why we decided that we wanted to move here. If you don't know, just like a quick background, I am from northern Wisconsin. I moved to Chicago 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, into the city of Chicago. We lived there until 3 weeks ago. So
only
2 weeks ago?
Only two.
Well, we moved in on a Sunday though. Only
Today's
2 weeks
Sunday.
ago. All right, I was thinking it was like the third week. Yeah, you're right, because this is only our second full weekend here.
Yep.
So
I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. So
one of them, there are many.
Yeah, northwest suburb of Chicago, Schaumburg, for anybody that knows that. And I was living in the city, had been living in the city for just about 6 years, up until 2 weekends ago. And never a city guy, just introvert, and also just like just kind of like sensitive to overstimulation, and so being downtown Chicago was not ideal, but it was where I had work and it was easier to have my business there, so I made it work. But yeah, I've always known that I want to be back somewhere else, so.
I won't say the same for me. So Ben, when we moved here, when we decided to move out to the suburbs, we had a lot of people kind of asking why we were moving. If you're from Chicago or maybe from like New York or a bigger city, but particularly in Chicago, as we know, like people are like suburbs people or they are city people. Like there are a few people that believe that you can be both. So when we would say things that we were moving, we had a lot of people being like, you're gonna hate it, this is gonna be awful. For me, when I moved to Chicago, I very much wanted to live in the city. I wanted to live in a high rise. I wanted to like be in Chicago, because the only time I had been in Chicago was when I would stay at hotels on, Michigan Ave. And then when you move into the city, it's actually quite a slap in the face for anyone that maybe isn't used to it. Ben lived in the suburbs, but being completely separate from it, I was not ready for the fact that like the city of Chicago isn't just the big beautiful buildings on the river. In fact,
Quite the oversimplification.
Yeah, very few people can actually live there, and a lot of it is even just like businesses anyway. There are some homes, but I'm sure that they're ridiculously expensive. And then, so for me, moving here, realizing that it was not like that in every part of Chicago, and that things like safety were very important. The prices were ungodly ridiculous. Just for like what am I trying to say, to like give some background, I get that like Green Bay, Wisconsin, Chicago, Illinois, very different, get that, but just for context, I lived in a 2-bedroom 1,000 square foot apartment in Green Bay, Wisconsin. It had a covered garage. It was very safe. I paid, I think, $650 or $675, $700, like with utilities, to live there. When I moved to Chicago, I moved into a 490 square foot apartment that was in an old house that I didn't feel was like super safe, but it was fine. The kitchen was disgusting. I wish I could find it. But without utilities, I think it was $1,025 a month. So with utilities, I want to say it was like right around $1,200 to live where I lived. And that was in like a safer neighborhood for Chicago. So there were just like all these things that I wasn't anticipating when I moved to Chicago. It kind of broke that like that bubble that I had or that dream that I had built up in my head about what the city actually was like for most people. But yeah, so that's just like a little bit of background about the city, coming from someone from the outside that's like totally freaked out and thinks it's awesome based on like photos and like all the kinds of stuff that you see if you're not from Illinois and don't really know like what it's like to live here. Because I do, like, he lived in the burbs, but it's super different for anyone that's not from here. They're very much like, you know, kind of glamorized Chicago. So yeah. Okay, so just so you guys know, we lived in kind of an older apartment. Then we moved into a brand new, I think it had only been lived in for maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
Apartment in a brand new building in a really nice part of town, a little bit into the city. If you know anything about the city, we were like Old Town, kind of on the corner of like River North-ish, River East or River West, whatever.
Yeah.
So we were like kind of in that area. We were close enough to the city. And I really wanted to live in a high rise. I wanted to experience that, and you guys have seen our apartment if you've been on our channel or follow us anywhere. We loved that apartment. It was beautiful. Like, absolutely loved it aesthetically. But why did we decide to move? Or like, when did we start talking about why Chicago wasn't right for us?
I'm going to tangent here because this is what I do. And so Jesse may or may not cut this. But I want to make a quick mention about living in a high rise. So if you go back to what Jesse was saying about she wanted to move to the big city, she wanted to live in a high rise, like this is also regarding the second thing that I was going to say before, is like when you're in a spot in your life where you really don't like your surroundings, like Jesse was very, very done with where she was previously. You want to make the most extreme change. Like, it's just human nature to want to make this massive jump and no gray area. And she did it. And she learned from it, and it's fine. And I think that
and I loved it.
Yeah. And that's kind of like the other part that I'm going to get to here is like, it's okay to make a jump and then not have that decision work out or feel 100% right.
Or change your mind.
Then you change your mind. Yeah. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
And with this is why we're saying this as renters. This is why we have no interest in purchasing anytime soon until we decide exactly where we want to be.
Something.
We'll be renting for a while until we fall in love, I think, with an area.
Yeah. But yes, so when we moved into the high rise, the important thing there is like, I wanted that too. Like, I had always wanted high rise living, like at least years ago. That was like something I thought was really cool. I kind of let go of it just because I didn't care as much anymore. But then when Jesse was like, I've always wanted to try this out, I've always wanted to experience this, I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, that was always something I wanted to do. So let's do it. And
I felt that I would regret it if I didn't. Like, that I never got to experience that. We kind of made a compromise because he didn't want to live like in River North in like the city. So we were like a step back from all of it. We were still very close in the city, but we were just a step back. So we weren't, it wasn't as walkable. It wasn't like there were things right next to me. Yeah.
And restaurants like not dead in the middle of that.
Yeah. So you still had to like take public transit to get most places, things like that. But we got the amenities and the like living in a high rise that we were looking for.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of times people are scared to make a decision because they think it needs to be permanent somehow and based on what others will think. And I'm saying this because we experience certain things from close friends or family where we felt a little bit of judgment around our decision. And the thing was, we very much went into this being like, yeah, this is like above the price point that we want to be spending, but we know it's going to be temporary. Like, we have this opportunity to have this experience that we both wanted to have and that we can check off our list and put it behind us and never need to have again, unless we fall in love with it and decide that it's the best path going forward.
Yeah.
But we just knew based on our relationship, based on, looking to start a family in a couple of years, high-rise living was not part of the equation. So we wanted to do it, we wanted to experience it, and so we did. knowing that it was temporary and that we were going to have to figure something out. So just my kind of like little...
Zero regrets.
Yeah, totally. Like,
yeah.
We just...
And it wasn't, like, when he says, like, it was above what we wanted to pay, but it was within what we could afford at the time when we signed for the lease.
Yeah.
Some of the reasons that we moved to the suburbs, one of them was the fact that you can get more for your money out here. So we are, with transit, probably paying close to what we paid in the city, maybe a little bit less. The difference is now we're paying a couple $100s a month to drive and or take the train into the suburbs.
It ain't cheap, people.
Ain't cheap. So what we're doing is we're working on different ways that we can maybe be a little bit more flexible with our schedule or work remote to kind of take away some of that extra stress. But here, difference, our last apartment was like 700-800 square feet. It was a high rise. It was no parking, anything like that. We are now, how big is this place?
So people have asked me, so like some of my clients have asked me, so as I've like gone back and forth with them describing the place and the space, everything included, it's probably close to 2,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's a like a multi-level home. It would be probably the space of a 2-story home. It's just that we have 4 stories, but it's split level.
Weird.
So yeah, so it's like small. If you've seen our house tour, you've seen it's like smaller spaces, but there's multiple levels. So we have a basement. It's 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, main floor, fully finished basement, and then we have a garage and we have like a football field for a yard.
Yeah,
so yeah, it was worth. We felt that we were getting more for our money, which is hard in Chicago. If you live in the city, it's very, very expensive. You pay for location, and out here, you still pay a little bit for location because you want to be closer to the public transit, but you're still getting more for your money. Like I said, we have a 2,000 square foot home instead of a 800 square foot apartment.
Which leads to like why we made the decision. And when you make a decision, it should be based on priorities. You're always going to have some give and take. Some things, you know, you're going to make positive change in some areas and you're going to lose a couple things, most likely, unless you find just an amazing opportunity. So in this case, like Jesse was saying, the money ends up coming out to something very similar to what we were paying before, but and I say this because, or we both mention this because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, it's cheaper out there, and like, yeah, but not when you're both commuting to the city.
Yeah.
But the point being, what we care about, what we value is space, quiet, having a yard for us and for Cora, our own outdoor space, and then yeah, parking is like incredibly, you know, 2-car garage, big driveway. I've like never understood how in the city you're supposed to like wash your car. Like you have to actually go to a
like,
car wash, whereas like
yeah.
I grew up, you know, my dad, we would go outside in the driveway and wash the car. So, you know, that kind of goes back to what I know. But point being, like, those are things that we gained. And yes, we lost time. We now have a commute. We lost that. But it was something we were willing to accept because of everything else that came along with it.
Yeah, and for me personally, my commute actually isn't that much longer, based on like his commute is much longer. Mine isn't, because when I would walk to work or when I would take the CTA, it would usually be 45 to 55 minutes. Now I'm around the 50 to 55 minute, probably an hour with walking for my commute. The difference is I can sit on a train and like listen to a podcast and like text and like do my work if I need to, though I probably won't be, things like that. It's a little bit different. So it's also thinking of your commute differently. My commute in the city actually made me very, very anxious. I would like not ride the CTA because I never it was very claustrophobic to me, and like just a lot as a like highly sensitive person. It was just a lot for me. Whereas now, like for the most part, the train is set up much differently. It's not the kind of thing where you have to like push off, things like that. So it's different. It's not as stressful of a commute for me as well. And then honestly, just, I don't know about you, but since being here, I feel like I can breathe. To the point where I actually I don't want to go into the city. Like if there's any way that I can work remote, which is something that I'm planning to work toward, I would. And I would go into the city only when necessary. Which 2 years ago, Jesse would have been like, yeah, right. But now it's just so much different. We have, like right now I'm looking out at trees, and like our neighbors are these old, wonderful people that have been here since the 60s who are like the kindest people ever. We have like every morning I can get up with my coffee and sit outside with Cora. Granted, I will say it is summer and it is still Illinois, so like the winter is still going to be awful. But the difference is we have our own space. No one else is here. It's our driveway. It's our house. It's our yard. Like it's ours, and we can leave the city in the city, and we can come here and like live our life. And it's been amazing. Like I'm still getting used to it in some ways, but for the most part I feel a lot less anxious than I did living in the city, and I feel like I can actually turn off and like step away from work and things, which is huge for me.
Yeah, really that was going to be my next point, was just that is I've noticed that the separation of work and life, personal life for me, has been like significant. I can't, it's hard to even put into words because it feels so different. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't really know how to put it into words other than it's just such a different feeling. You know, even in our beautiful apartment that we loved so much before, I was still hearing car noises. I was still, in my peripheral vision, I was still seeing cars and people and hearing people yelling and
the dog next door and
and all these things. And again, this is not to say those things are inherently bad. This is like, I'm speaking for myself as a person and my experience. And moving out here and being able to like come home and sit on my grass and hear the wind blowing through the trees and
water your garden.
Yeah, like it just allows this total separation where I knew I didn't want to be in the city long term, but now that I'm here, the amount that it like affects my psychology is profound, much more than I even expected. Yeah, so honestly, I think like the biggest takeaway from all of this is that you need to make decisions based on you and your partner and your family, and your decisions will change and your wants will change, and that is okay. Like I loved Chicago. I loved living in my last apartment. I adored that apartment so much, and we had a really tough year there, and it is an apartment that has a lot of highs and a lot of lows for us, and a lot of good energy, a lot of bad energy, and we really, really loved it there. But it changed for us. We needed space. Like when we would go to his parents, or we would go to my parents, or we would go to Michigan, we would feel, I keep like holding here because like literally I could breathe, and I couldn't breathe anymore in the city. Physically, I couldn't breathe anymore. It was affecting me a lot deeper than I even knew until we started to step back and leave the city a little bit. And that's okay. And like that changed for us, and we love it here, but will we stay here forever? No, because it's a rental, but also like, probably not. And we want to try different things and do different things and have different experiences, and we may feel differently in a year. So, and that's okay. Like, so I think that it's just being able to like do something that you know is right for you and your partner when you're in a relationship.
Yep. and like doing it and understanding that you can always change your mind.
It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be okay. So we're loving it here, and we're really excited to see like how this next year goes and how else we can make this house feel like our home. It's feeling a lot more like that now that we have like some stuff put away and things like that. So we're really loving it here. But yeah, if there's anything else you'd like us to dive into just about like, I mean, if you're not from Chicago, you're probably like, why are these people making a video about moving to the suburbs? But it's like moving to an entirely different state, honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you just have any questions about like moving, making big moves in your life, anything like that, let us know. Ben actually has a program that he's starting up pretty soon here where he's helping people make big decisions like that, which we'll make we should make a whole video about that soon.
Yeah, we can detail that.
This is way too long right
That's
now.
gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fun. So yeah, if you ever have any questions, definitely let us know. We love sharing our experience. So yeah, we're living it here. All I see is like old people all the time, and it makes me so happy because that's who I am.
Which would make plenty of 30-year-olds cringe, but for us, it works perfectly.
Yeah, maybe it's because we're 31. Okay, we'll see you in the next video.
Bye, guys.